So you've carefully thought about your message, you've defined your target audience alongside their needs and expectations, and you have used a pen and paper to outline a storyboard that structures your message into a coherent narrative. Now, it is finally time to open your presentation software. But what now? Let me walk you through my process. Welcome to SimplPoints. So here's where we ended up after preparation step number 1 and number 2. Check out my first 2 videos in case you missed them. Our message is the following. Science is not transparent, but being transparent has many advantages for both individual researchers and science at large. So, let's make science transparent. Our target audience are mid-career researchers who are very practically minded. They want to save time, they do not want to risk their reputation, and they are afraid of others taking credit for their work. Let's assume we have only 5 minutes to convey our message to this particular audience. Here's a possible storyboard for the situation, alongside my thoughts on it. We start off with the claim that science is not open. I reference a paper that showed that 68% of data from psychological studies cannot be accessed. And to engage the audience with the concept of openness, I want to ground it in something concrete, something that can close off things, like a lock. Sharing data and materials, however, has benefits. First, it makes it easier to build on each other's work, and second, transparent workflows can save time. Both advantages I want to ground in concrete imagery again. The cumulative nature of science can be illustrated by those toy blocks that kids like to play with. The concept of time will be grounded in a clock. But my audience might be reluctant to be open because they are afraid of others detecting errors in their work and because they are afraid that someone else takes credit for their data. Detecting errors can be illustrated by a magnifying glass that spotlights a chunk of computer code in order to really ground my audience's fear in their concrete work experiences. The fear of being scooped is on some level a mechanism that vilifies other researchers. So I envision a hacker in a hoodie with their face in the shadow, for example. I end my presentation on a final slide that summarizes the benefits of being transparent and makes a call to action. Let's be open. Okay, now the storyboard needs to be translated into our presentation software. Here's what we are going to do. We will define a visual identity, establish a visual structure, formulate each slide's core message, find and add images, and we added the typography of the text. The first thing I do is defining a look for my slides. This includes the color palette, the typefaces, and the structure of my slides. The visual identity can either be entirely up to you or is somewhat bound to already established templates. Your institution may have already established an identity for their visualizations, including slide design. If the already existing template is mandatory, you can skip this step. But be aware that there's a big difference between a required template and a suggested template. If it is not required in a strict sense, think carefully about how useful the suggested template is to communicate your message. Often pre-established templates are just not optimized for your communication needs. If you do have control over your visual identity, choose a color palette and typeface. I won't go into too much detail here on color and font theory, but keep the following points in mind. If this new presentation is supposed to actually represent your company, both color palette and typefaces should resonate or reflect the company's logo. If you don't have such restrictions, pick something that you think A, is useful for the audience, and B, is engaging, fresh, or just different. Usefulness always trumps the more subjective properties. If your font is not readable, you lose the audience. If your color contrasts are too weak, they might miss your point. But both color and typeface allow a certain level of creativity that can make your presentation stand out and stick. Here I picked a simple color combination that consists of 2 strong contrasts and a calm, dark gray. I chose my favorite title typeface, Bebas Neue, and a sans serif complement with Montserrat. Great! Before I worry about any details, I now establish the structure of the slide deck. I basically create placeholder slides for each sticky note from my storyboard and just make a note on there reminding me on the content. I also already established structure by using two different backgrounds. Slides that transition between sections of the presentation get a different color than slides within each section. This helps me actually seeing my structure. Here we are. I have my slides. My next step is formulating the text for each slide. This is a great step to work out the core messages for each slide and articulate them into one clear and short phrase. Depending on what your slide is supposed to communicate, you want this phrase to be formulated as a question, a call to action, or a simple statement. Great. We are actually already in a really good spot. We have simple slides that contain a few text elements which communicate the core message on each slide. Now we can ground this text in engaging and memorable visuals, giving the messages more impact. There are plenty of open collections for free to use photography, and I will post some links into the description below. I usually try a bunch of related search terms across different platforms and try to find what I am looking for. Now I have images that can support my message and make them memorable. I am actually quite close to the finish line already. The last step is to adopt the typography to the new environments on the images. So we place it appropriately and adjust the typography to focus the most important words. We adjust the size and arrange the text elements. And that is it. We have defined a visual identity, established a visual structure. We have formulated each slide's core message. We found and added images to complement these messages. And we edited the text to fit nicely on our images. And here's what the final result could look like. Science is still not open. In a recent study, researchers tried to access the data from a sample of prestigious psychological studies. They were not able to access 68% of the data. Let that sink in. More than 2/3 of impactful psychological research that define the way we teach, the way we treat clinical conditions, and the way we interact with each other cannot be accessed, is not open. Science should be open, however, because it benefits both you as an individual researcher as well as science at large. Sharing data enables us to build on each other's work, to effectively accumulate knowledge and save valuable resources. Moreover, transparent workflows save your time in the long run. When preparing a project to share it with others, you tend to organize it in a way that makes it easier to explore and work with. Science is often not open because you might be afraid that others discover errors in your work, which might in turn damage your reputation. Making mistakes is human though, so making these mistakes at least detectable by being transparent will make scientific progress more effective. Moreover, being transparent from the get-go allows others to detect your errors before publication, effectively helping you publishing a better research product. You might be concerned that other competitors can take your data and publish on it before you can. The situation is often referred to as scooping. But publishing your data actually safeguards you against scooping because you create precedents by timestamping your data on a public repository. You can signal that you collected the data and you can establish contribution and sharing standards for those data. I hope I was able to convince you that science should be open. Transparent workflows allow you to build on each other's work, save time, they allow you to detect errors and establish precedents. So let's be open. This is it. I hope you find this video useful for your next presentation. Let me know if I'm missing an important step here down below in the comments. See you next time.